Okay. Looks like we're all set.
Thanks, Jessica.
You're welcome.
I've got 10:30, so we will call the meeting of the Administrator Controller Search Ad Hoc Committee to order. I'm Tobin Hope. I'm attending remotely from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
Terry Hutchinson reporting from my office in Clare, Michigan, Clare County.
I'm Jim Horton. I'm reporting from my home in Union Township, or excuse me, Charter Township of Union, Mount Michigan, Isabella County.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brings us down to public comment. Jessica, do we have anyone on the phone?
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Then we will move down to approval of August 9th meeting minutes. Have you had a chance to look at those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Approve or support.
Okay, and it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moves us down to item number 5 is draft schedule discussion. And let me see if I can bring that up without losing my other stuff. I've gone to one screen, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If I may, could I discuss some procedural things before we move on in the agenda?
absolutely.
Would that be okay with you?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to preface these comments by the fact that, the Open Meetings Act covers things like the selection of an appointed official to a public body at a certain level, which includes the administrator controller level. And because of that, some applicants are offered the opportunity to request to have their application stay confidential to a certain point. So we are still in the point that if someone requested their application to stay confidential, we of course have to do that. Given that situation, and given that some of the candidates did request that and some of the candidates did not, in the original agenda that you received, we looked at going into a closed session. But the day before yesterday, as I was looking at the agenda again, which I approved, which Jessica sent the original agenda out, I started to have some questions in my mind about the closed session and what were we going to do procedural wise? How would we discuss, obviously, those who had request confidentiality, their applications would be reviewed in a closed session, but those who had not would be in an open session. And then as far as the ad hoc committee, how would that function well for you to consider all the applications? So yesterday I had 2 telephone consults with our legal counsel. So she made recommendations, which is why your agenda changed today. And why the ad hoc committee received applications that had been redacted. So I just want to go through those so that we're all on the same page real quick, and it won't take me long, but I think it's a good thing for us to do, Mr. Chair. So first of all, we cannot include the non-confidential applications in a closed session. And you can't consider the confidential ones in a public setting if the identifier information on those applications is available. So council recommended that we assign an identifier to all of the applications. And we chose to assign the identifier as applicant A, applicant B, applicant C, etc. And then our council also recommended that we redact all identifying information such as name, birth date, social security numbers, phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, if it includes the name, etc. And that we do not refer to the applicants by name during today's meeting, only by the identifier. We have redacted the information that was recommended to us to do that. And frankly, Jessica last night, worked on this till after 9:30 last night to get all this redacted. And Jess and I have had numerous discussions in the last 24 hours about some redacting issues. But because of our experience with FOIA, redacting is pretty clear in FOIA what you can and can't redact. So we kind of use that as a guide. But I think that when you look at the applications, the ad hoc committee looks at the redacted applications, you will see that, we've redacted some things even in letters of recommendation because they're identifying of the applicant. So I would rather have us been over redact than under redact. So we have done that. So we have redacted the information and assigned the identifiers applicant A, B, C, D, E, and F. So when the ad hoc committee today discuss the applicants, please do not identify them by name, identify them by their identifier, which is applicant, the alphabet. And also, per our legal counsel, only the ad hoc committee members can participate in the discussion at the meeting today and in the vote, because it's an ad hoc committee appointed by the board with a specific goal and responsibility. Certainly any other commissioners, and I see Commissioner Swaney is here, certainly it's an open meeting, more than welcome to be here. Glad that you're here, Steve. But you will not be able to participate as a voting or a discussing member. So I think that, in my estimation, from looking at our schedule and preparing all of this situation for you to hire the next administrator controller, is to make sure that everybody is on the same a level playing field, that all the applicants are on a level playing field. So by not considering them, those in a closed, those in an open, some have this, some have that. Our attorney's recommendation is stay in open session, redact the identifying information, do not refer to the applicants by name, and have your discussion. And if coming out of today's discussion, the ad hoc committee would like to make a recommendation to the commissioners at the work session next week on who to interview, which is kind of what the schedule suggests and recommends, then I kind of have a draft motion prepared that I could give you, and you could insert the applicant identifiers and we would move forward from there. So that's where we are today. I want to apologize to you, to the ad hoc committee, for the flurry of emails and other things regarding this. I've been involved in hiring people my entire career, and I hire all of the department heads that are in our offices that, we've hired. I've done that before. Those hirings do not occur in front of an open elected legislative board. And although I have been involved in 2 searches in the hiring of 2 county administrators, I was the person. So I wasn't on this end. I was on the other end of the interview table, and luckily had a great career opportunities to serve in 2 communities in that position. So my responsibility, I apologize for the confusion. I do want to recognize Jessica, who, if there's something in the redacting that, okay, well, you should have left that out, but you didn't. That is totally on me. This is my responsibility. Jessica is here to assist and help. So I think we're in a good spot. I don't have any questions with what we're doing moving forward. I'm glad I had that little thought of, I'm not sure, and called our attorney, because I would rather do that than mistakenly lead us to a path that isn't appropriate.
I appreciate that, Margaret. And I've been on hiring committees at the university, but I've never had to do it in a public meeting. So that it kind of changes things. And this is why we have legal counsel to tell us the right way to do things, because I'm not a lawyer. And I think this will be a good process. We'll treat all the applications the same. This way, we're not treating this bunch this way and another bunch. We don't have a subset that we're doing in closed session. We're doing them all in open session and treating each one the same and looking at each one. So this will be a good process, I think.
I think so too. I think it turned out good. It turned out well. It was a little stumbly for a few hours yesterday, but again, as I told one of you yesterday on the phone, I think I have good instincts about don't go towards the fire. And it was kind of like, oh, this is something I just had that question. So I'm really glad I followed through on my instincts. But
Sometimes
we're ready to progress as soon as you are, Mr. Chairman.
it's good to have good instincts. I appreciate all the work you put into this, Margaret and Jessica.
Oh, Jessica.
Jessica did a ton of work on this, and I appreciate it. And I think it'll be a good process.
I do too.
So draft schedule. Today's
Margaret,
18th.
I see we
Yeah,
have.
go ahead, Jim.
I see we have on the 6th of October, that is our time, the big next date, and we had question mark. Could we settle on a time yet? Are we gonna, as we get closer, do it?
So I'm going to make a recommendation that we hold it's going to depend on how many folks you recommend to interview. And so my recommendation is that we, and Jessica and I talked about this morning about, posting this. So today I would like, at the end of today, if you're comfortable and you want to make a recommendation of who to interview, that part of that recommendation of who to interview would also be to hold those interviews on October 6th, and to, depending on how many you're going to interview, we'll have to come up with the time then, but I would prefer to do them in the afternoon. We'll have them at Commission on Aging in the room that's now become the Board of Commissioners room. But because there is something scheduled there in the morning that we would need to relocate, I would prefer to have them in the afternoon so we don't have to relocate something that's previously scheduled there. And I would recommend that we look at 1.5-hour sections that will give you time to, we'll ask the questions and we'll talk about that later. But it would also give you time to, you want to get to know the candidates. You're going to ask everybody the same questions. It's the same process. We'll rotate around the table. Everybody gets to ask a question or two, and then everybody gets to ask the same question. And I'm thinking that 1.5 hours, that will give you time to ask your questions, get to know them, and also give you a chance to have a brief little break in between interviews to use the restroom or whatever. So yes, we are looking at that date in the afternoon. But I want you to look at your schedules and decide what works for you, because if the afternoons does not work that day, we'll make accommodations to do it according to your schedule.
Afternoon's better for me.
Works for me.
That's fine too. Getting also back to if I can then digress back to the 21st, recommendation of Board of Commissioners in a closed session. Are we in closed session for that? Or are we just?
No, you will not be in closed session any longer because the applicant, but again, just remember this schedule says draft on the top because we knew that things were going to change.
Yeah,
I didn't know this was going to change, but so we will not be going to closed session on Tuesday. But again, applicants will only be identified at that point when they're discussing your recommendation of who to interview, because that's what your goal is, by the identifier. So what will happen is, let's pretend this committee comes back and says, we want applicant, I'm just going to make this up, B, C, D, and E. Just pretend. You say that's who you want to interview. Or you B, C, and D. And you interview however, that's what you want to do. And you recommend that to the work session on Tuesday. And if the work session says, oh yeah, okay, we agree to that, then in between the work session and the board meeting, I will contact those finalists that you have decided are your finalists and ask them if they want to remain as a finalist and be interviewed. And if they say, and then I will also tell them that if they say yes, at that point, their application will become public. Their name would become public. And that's the same process that happened when I was hired. I got a phone call in between the meetings saying I was a finalist. Did I want to move on? And I said, yes, I did, because I had asked for confidentiality.
So all the boards, all the commissioners on the 21st, are they going to get redacted information too? Are they going to be able to see names? Are they going to be able to see positions? Where are we at with that? Because that's to me, I mean, we're doing this blind and it's, I don't know.
We're not doing it blind.
Okay.
We're doing it according to the recommendations of our legal counsel.
Okay.
So at this point, any application, so that's part of the discussion too, is do not be releasing any of these applications. So if somebody contacts you and says, I want to see an application, no, have them go to our website and do a FOIA request.
Okay,
We don't want to get into a case, we're not going to violate the Open Meetings Act, and we're not going to violate somebody's ability to be confidential. So are they going to get all the application packets, Commissioner Horton? That's a question I have to our attorney still.
okay,
But if they get them, they're going to be redacted.
okay.
Unless the Board of Commissioners wants to go into a closed session to discuss only those two who asked for confidentiality and to discuss the other ones in an open session, that's your option. It's not the recommendation of our council, but you could do that.
It's odd. I'll just leave it at that. I get it. I get what's going on. It's just that it's odd. So, but I'll leave it at that. So,
But again, you can choose to go a different path if you want to. If you
Yeah.
want to go the path,
no, I'm
of having-
comfortable. I'm comfortable what we're doing today. I guess yeah, after looking at the redactions and after looking at the rankings, I mean, yeah, but if we have to, can't go in closed session, then that's what we have to do, but yeah, okay. Other commissioners, what do you think? Tobin, what's your thoughts on Terry?
Well, I mean, this does make it a little more difficult in a meeting, but I'm comfortable with the ABs, right on down the line, keeping it confidential that way. We can make it work either way.
Yep, I agree. We can make it work. And if this is what our legal counsel says we should do, then I'm inclined to go along with them and do what they suggest.
Then I'll be in agreement with that. All right.
Okay. Margaret, on the 24th, email questionnaires to candidates. So I think we covered this before, but the candidates are going to get the questions in advance.
no. This
Okay.
was, so let me step back another step too. I think that we're not going to do that. Again, this is a draft. So this is why I want to say that to you. When we were putting this together, we were looking at the process that was followed the last time the administrator controller was hired. And we used kind of some of that as a guide. And then others we did not use. At that time, in that process, they sent out a questionnaire to the candidates that were, no, they're not the questions that are asked in the interview. They were a separate set of questions, like, have you been in an ethical dilemma and how did you handle it? Or those types of things. We can do that. If the ad hoc committee would like us to do that, we can still do that on the 24th and send those questions out, but they are not the same as the interview questions. You don't want to send the interview questions out prior to the interview because you want to judge how a person responds as you ask the questions. So if you want to do this, it's a separate set of questions.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep, but I don't know as we need to send questionnaires.
I don't think you need to. They did before. I don't think you need to. I think the interesting thing that you want to do is meet those candidates in the interview, ask your questions, get to know them, judge them,
Yeah, I've been the interviewee before. I wished I had the questions ahead of time, but
yeah. And in the age of YouTube and electronic meetings, I mean, certainly meetings have been open to the public forever, but now we don't want to talk about what the interview questions will be because anybody can look at the YouTube, find out what the interview questions are.
yeah.
It's an interesting place to be.
Margaret, Chairman Hope, if I can ask one more question.
Yeah, absolutely.
In regards to the October 6th meeting for interviews, I believe we discussed this. My feeling would be we'd like to have those as live interviews. But because we are in a hybrid meeting modes, would we be amenable to doing a virtual if a candidate requested a virtual on that?
Well, our meetings are hybrid meetings and other people can do them virtually. I mean, department heads can give their presentation virtually. Attorneys can be there virtually. Somebody doing a presentation can be there virtually. I guess that's an interesting question and something I hadn't considered. I don't know.
I mean, I would prefer that they're there live, but I don't know if we can, I don't want to use the M word. I don't know if we can highly recommend that they're there live, not a mandate. You don't want to use, that's the M word I was going to use.
That could be easily addressed perhaps if once the board, if they accept the recommendations of the ad hoc committee of who to interview, and I contact them and say, you've been selected as a finalist. At this point, we're looking at doing interviews on October 6th at a Board of Commissioners meeting. It will be a hybrid meeting. You're welcome to attend in person. However, we could accommodate remote if you would prefer. And then, I mean, I don't know if we're going to be having the meeting be a hybrid meeting, how we can't mandate that they be there. But I would think most people would want to be there.
I would go on record encouraging that, but I don't want, exactly. So, all right. Thank you, Charlie.
Good question. Appreciate it.
Chairperson Hope.
Yes, sir.
Margaret, I guess it goes towards you. Just want to make sure all the other commissioners are comfortable with the questions that we're asking, and if they have any thoughts on anything that we should ask, that they, have the time to get with you and make sure that all the questions are, if they have anything in mind that they need to ask.
So what I was thinking of doing, again, because we don't want to discuss the questions in public, I was thinking of sending the ad hoc committee a listing of questions and asking you to select your top, however many, 10 or 15 maybe. And then I would compile those and look at those that hung together, and yes, they would. If the ad hoc committee wants those to be sent out to all the commissioners, I can do that. I'm trying to make sure that we end up not having 40 questions because you won't be able to get through them. And then how are we going to select which ones those are going to be?
Okay.
But I'm happy to do whatever the committee wants.
They're all comfortable having their say.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm inclined to agree that maybe the other commissioners should see the questions ahead of time, see if they want to add anything.
Yeah, maybe we do a high. I'm sorry, I'm only seeing one screen at a time because I got myself ready for the discussion. So I don't have two screens, so I got one. So I'm trying to. So if I interrupt you guys, I'm not doing it on purpose. Well, normally you would think I'm on purpose, but I'm not doing it on purpose. But I'm not in the proper frame thing here. Why don't we do a hybrid? Why don't we, again, using that term? Why don't we take the committee narrow down the questions, but then get those questions to the other commissioners, and if they want questions that they think, or give them the questions that Margaret presented to, or administration presented to us, that we weeded down, and then forward it on to them and see if they agree and see if they would have added anything. I mean, I think that might be quick. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with all the questions.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we kind of all said was I will resend you the email that had like the 25. You gentlemen pick your top 10, 15, we'll decide. Then I'll compile those and then I'll send that whole list out to everybody, all the commissioners, and say, these are the compiled, are there others that you would like to have considered or whatever? And then then I'll send those out to you. But I think that, I want to be really careful to make sure that the questions are, I'm just going to use the word appropriate. We need to make sure that the questions are appropriate.
Oh, sure, sure. Actually, what you could do, after we narrow them down, the committee narrows them down, and you send those out to the full board. If there are any suggested ads, those could come back to the committee, and we could decide if, no, we're not going to ask that, or yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, we could do that. That's a good idea.
That might entail another meeting, but that's okay. We could schedule that. It wouldn't take very long.
We
Or you could,
might even be able to do that through email.
yeah.
You don't
that's
want to
true.
do that in a public meeting because then the questions will be out in the world
Okay.
before.
All right.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, we
good.
could-
Gotcha. All right.
We can
That
do it
makes
via
sense.
email.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yep.
Looking down through, I don't think I had any other questions on it. Commissioner Hutchinson, did you have anything else? Or-
Nope.
Okay, Commissioner Horton?
No, nope, nope.
Okay, okay. Then I think we're good. The next step then would be to review and consider applications. And you guys want to, you folks want to just walk through each one, or?
Yep. E.
Okay. Then we'll start, of course, with application A. And remember, we're not going to, we're not going to say names, but just go through the applications. So application A. Any thoughts on that?
I'm thinking that he has all qualifications we're looking for. In history, I think that we're looking for.
Margaret, in the job posting,
Right.
much experience in county government, where we at
So
for?
the job posting was pretty clear about looking at, continually increasing experience in local government. So I think that just to say, administration was tasked with going through and looking at qualifications and those, looking at which applications met the qualifications and which didn't. And applicant A was a split decision on whether that applicant met the qualifications or not, because that person has only had 1 year of experience in county government. So of the two employees in my department, myself and another person who went through these, one of us thought no, applicant A did not meet the requirements, and one thought maybe, but neither one of us thought yes. Just for your information.
Okay, yeah, and this applicant I see listed as county administrator in a county in Michigan, 2020 to present. They didn't throw it down any further than that, so we don't know at which point in 2020, how much of 2020 this person actually served in that capacity. But I think we could say less than a year is this in county government.
Do we give recommendations now, or do you want to have discuss? I don't have much to discuss on this person. So how do you want to do it?
I think in the end, what you're going to want to come out in the end is who you're recommending to move forward to be interviewed.
Okay, so we'll go through all 6 and then go back and circle back and start, just go through one at a time and make yay or nay, right?
You can do whatever you want.
Commissioner, Chairman Hope, what's your thoughts? You're the leader of this one.
I think we could do it as we go along. I think
Okay.
less confusing to just do it now at each one. Do we send this one forward or not?
Yep, I agree. That sounds good.
I agree
Okay.
too. I mean, if you've read through all the things, I think there's some definite people here that we want to interview, and there's some that, you know, we get to do a yay or nay and get it, move on.
And you don't need to in the committee, I mean, you don't need to give a reason. You don't need to give a justification of why you're yes or no. You just need to decide whether you want to move them or not.
Okay. Sounds good.
If you want I'll let you guys have a discussion, or you say, and then I'll go. I don't really have anything to discuss.
Well, I don't, I'll jump in there first. I don't feel like we should move this one forward.
Yeah,
I agree.
this is a no for me.
Okay. No, we're all in agreement on that. Simple enough.
All right.
To application B.
Application B. Okay.
So do you want to know what the review group said or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so in applicant B, both parties who reviewed for meeting the basic qualifications, our opinion was no. Both of our opinions were no. That person did not meet the basic requirements.
I can see that from their work experience.
Agreed.
Okay. So we will not, Commissioner Horton, how do you feel about applicant B?
Just from the work experience alone, if we're looking for 1 year county government, I don't see that necessarily.
Okay.
Again, before I guess if I can just stop myself just for a second, which is, it's impossible for me to do, but I want to thank before we go on all the candidates who put applications in. I mean, I appreciate their interest in Isabella County, whether we yay or nay. These folks took the time and effort to apply to come work for us and give their expertise and their knowledge to our county. So I do want to say thank you for all the 6 applicants right up front before I probably should have did that, or, this board, I'm sure I'm not going to the other two.
I should have done that, yeah.
But yeah, I would state that in this case, because of the 1 year, I'm going to have to unfortunately vote no on this one.
Yep, me as well. I'm glad you said that, Commissioner Horton, because we have some good applicants here, obviously, with some good experiences, but this is a top level job and we are looking for at least 1 year of county government experience.
No, actually, just so you know, that whoever you choose to interview, I will contact them, but those that you don't choose to interview, I will be preparing a thank you letter to them for their application for Chairman Horton to sign. So that's just good manners. I mean, we will do something formal, but also to go back to this minimum requirements, it's not 1 year. The minimum, it's a close list, plus a minimum of 5 to 8 years of continually increasing administrative supervisory experience in local government with responsibilities for budgeting, personnel, and other administrative areas. So that's just in the experience. So applicant A had 1 year, but what we're looking for in the posting is 5 to 8 years. And then there's all sorts of other things as far as knowledges, and we're looking for a bachelor's, would prefer a master's, but just so you know, I just want to correct that. You have applicants who have no experience in county or public local government, and you had one that had 1. So we're not comparing whether applicants have 1 year or not. We're looking at the other standard. Just want to make that clear.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you corrected me on that. So we're not moving applicant B forward. Applicant C.
So those of us who reviewed it determined that that applicant met the minimum qualifications.
Yeah, definitely. This applicant has quite a bit of experience in local government, including being administrator controller in a couple different counties. So I would definitely move this one forward.
I agree. This is one that I would want to definitely interview and appreciate it that they threw their hat into the ring.
I'll give a yes on this one also.
Okay, so we're moving that one forward. And applicant D,
So applicant D, there was, in looking at minimum qualifications, one response was maybe, one response was yes. The maybe response was that the experience was not in county government. However, again, the job posting asks for 5 to 8 years of continually increasing administrative supervisory experience in local government. So that was also a split decision, which, just so you know that.
okay. Appreciate it.
Those are, Margaret, I know they're meeting the minimal qualifications, but they're serving as guidelines for the commissioners too, if I'm not incorrect in stating that even though they
Well,
do.
we were asked to assess whether they met the minimum qualifications.
Oh,
That's all we
absolutely,
did.
yeah.
You folks can do everything else.
Perfect.
Whatever
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to do, you can do. I just wanted to give you those basics.
I love using the old Monty Python. They're guidelines.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
All
not
right.
carbon cement.
Okay.
This is one that I would agree to move forward to be interviewed. I know you're saying that, there's minimum guidelines there, but there's a lot of experience there too.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right.
This is definitely one I'd want to move forward and
Yeah, I'd agree with that. This one, experience at a couple different village manager for over 3 years, and then a city manager from February 2020 to the present. And then a city administrative budget analyst, or it looks like 3 years. So yeah, definitely. I'd be comfortable moving this one forward.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this one that should go in front of the full board.
So we're on E, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Candidate E, the two people who looked at met the basic qualifications, both said no, that candidate did not meet the qualifications for candidate E.
Yeah, and I think looking through this person's experience, they would not meet the minimum. This was one that I didn't really want to move forward. I don't know about the other commission.
I would agree with that. For a couple reasons, but again, thank them for throwing their hat in the ring. But this is one that I would say no on the interview.
I echo the two commissioners. I'm a no on this one.
Okay. All right. Brings us to F.
So commissioners, candidate F, both of us who reviewed it for the minimum qualifications determined that yes, candidate F met the minimum qualifications.
Yep, and I would agree with that. Pretty extensive employment history in county government.
Yes, this is one that I would definitely move forward for an interview. It's like I say, meets qualifications for being in you know, the county work, and I would agree with going forward with it.
Definitely.
Yep, I likewise echo what both of you said. This is to me is another one we move forward to the full board to give the full board their, right, this is one that also should go through. I mean, go to the full board. So, yep, I'm in favor.
Okay, all right. Well, it looks like we're all in agreement. I like that. And we've got C, D, and F that we're moving to the full board, correct?
Yes, sir. That's what my notes show.
Okay. Sounds good. Commissioners, any comments?
No, I just think out of all those three, I think the other commissioners will be happy with those three and to interview them, and a lot will come out in the interview too. I mean, how they handle their answers, and so, but I think you got three really good candidates, and I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, you look, some people can make the comments, well, you didn't get 50 applicants, or, you know, the other, you know, but at the same time, we only need one person to lead this county in the administrator controller position. And, you know, we've got a great one. Unfortunately, she's done at 12:30. I shouldn't say done, you know what I meant. But we're, you know, we've got to get this project done. And I think out of the three candidates that we've chosen, I think the board can certainly choose someone that can step in and create their own legacy, as Margaret has done in her career. So I look forward for this going to the board having input, the board making decisions, and looking forward to January 1st of next year. So to say, I'm also looking to this, whoever's person is chosen, to see them grow in this position. No matter what happens to myself as a commissioner in the future, I'll know that the county is in good hands, that I helped put that person in position. I was one of 7 that decided that. So again, I think it's these candidates. I think one of the 3 certainly, or all of the 3, but whatever that's chosen, I think should certainly keep Isabella County going for years and years and years. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Good point. Yep, I think we're in a good place with 3 really good candidates. So I feel good about that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to say to the ad hoc committee, you know, this is a really, and I appreciate everything that you said, Commissioner Horton. This is a very big responsibility that you have agreed to take on. And I just want you to know, as I will share with the board, the whole board, of course, but you know, my goal is whomever you select, whoever the board of commissioners select as your next administrator controller, I will work very hard for the 3.5 months that I'm left here. That sounds bad too. The 3.5 months that I will be here to help with the smooth transition, not only for that person, but for the county moving forward. And I want you to pick whoever you think is the right person, but I have a great deal of confidence in the board, and I know whoever you pick is going to take Isabella County into the future, and it's going to be bright. These are some good, these 3 people seem to be some really good candidates. So, and I will do whatever I can to help with the transition, even after the 1st of January, if somebody had questions or concerns.
Margaret, I don't have any doubt that you will. And this is why, or one of the reasons why you're going to be missed here.
Thank you.
Your dedication. So thank you. So other business. Anything?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Will we need?
That's all right, Jessica. Go
A
ahead.
motion for the
Yes.
recommendation, please.
Yes, I got off track, Jessica. Good
Yep.
for you. So here's a suggested motion. Just you folks decide if you like this or not. It's kind of a mashup of one of the ones that I received from the attorney, legal counsel yesterday too. That you might want to make, the ad hoc committee might want to make a motion to move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the following candidates to be interviewed for the position of administrator controller. And then we would fill in the blanks to say applicant C, applicant D, and applicant F.
Okay, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to move to the Board of Commissioners to be interviewed for the position of Administrator Controller, applicant C, D, and F.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we recommend to the Board of Commissioners the following candidates to be interviewed for the position of Administrator Controllers. Candidates C, D, and F.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, then we will move those three forward.
Margaret, as a point of order, since there's only three of us, we didn't need a roll call vote on that, did we? We can just go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I will say this, just because it's a fun way to end the meeting. And Jessica will be smiling without you being able to see her, but one of my favorite questions for people who are going to be entering into a leadership or management position, which is not one of the questions that's on any of yours to consider. And I asked Jessica this question in her interview, and I interviewed a lot of people for that position. I asked her, what does the term manage up mean to you? And pretty much every applicant said, I've never heard that term before, but I do some leadership training and some other things, some speaking engagements occasionally. And manage up to me is that, you may have a title and you may be at the top of the chart, but somebody's got to be managing you too. And so I just want this group to know Jessica actually is the queen of manage up. And she just proved that by saying, do we need a motion? Because I had that motion written out, but I would have just gone about my day here and forgotten it because we were having another conversation. So I tell Jessica she's the center post in the merry-go-round. Everything goes around her, but if she's not there, not working and stabilizing us, it doesn't go so smooth. So I just want to tip my hat to you, Jessica. Thank you for making sure we did that and for everything else you are doing with this whole process.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome. You're astounding.
I completely agree with that. So now, is there any other business?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. Jessica, is there any public comment?
There is no public at this time.
Okay, then we can adjourn. It's 11:17. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
you.
11:17, right?
Yes.
11:17.
11:17. I can start my weekend now.
Good for you. Enjoy it.
There you
I
go.
will. Thank you.
All right, guys,
you.
take care. Take care, everyone. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Yep.
so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.